What's good, team? Evan here for Gripst.com, and welcome to the exciting conclusion, part 5 of the best session I ever played. In the final installment of this poker tournament review, we're going to be going through the heads-up portion exclusively. This ended up being a 2.1k euro heads-up match, and at the time the euro was significantly stronger than the US dollar, so I was actually playing for about $3,000. Now, I would like to preface this, as I usually do when we get to the heads-up portion of my reviews, that heads-up play is the weakest part of my game, which is why I will be attending a live week-long poker boot camp this September with the top shelf trainers from Heads Up Sit and Go. If that sounds like something you might be interested in joining me for, feel free to send an email to evan@grips.com with your questions, and I'll be happy to bring you up to speed. I will be attending from September 27th to October 2nd, but there is also a week-long session before that if those dates don't work. Now, with that out of the way, I still feel like I played this match quite well, and I look forward to the feedback from Team Gripst on spots where I could have played better. Just keep the feedback constructive, please, because that's what teammates do. Anyway, let's get into it and see how to tackle an aggressive opponent heads up. So our strategy is to start by raising the majority of our buttons, probably in the range of 80%, which I think is still too low for me. But whatever, that's what I roll with. And we want to feel out how our opponent reacts to that strategy. Now, this spot's pretty interesting. We defend with King 2. I think it's fine against an opening range of a lot of hands. And we go ahead and lead at the pot. And what we're actually doing here is value leading a la Greg Merson, because our opponent is going to peel with his ace highs, his 5x's, maybe his 6x's, maybe his overcards. And even if he has a 3 or a 4, we also set ourselves up to maybe bluff him out on later streets. So we value lead, and when nothing improves on the turn, we value lead again, or Greg would call it a schleed. And on the river, we check to induce those bluffs from the hands that missed. And yes, I was snapping the river, just like my boy Greggy. If you don't know which hand I'm talking about, go ahead and look up Sick Call Greg Merson from the 2013 main event, and you will see an eerily similar hand that played out that year. And you see that we pretty much got the max value against this hand and kept full control throughout the hand, which is always important. So we continue to raise our buttons, and I don't think we'll defend a hand as weak as 6-4 offsuit, although, if you guys can convince me otherwise that I should be in there with that, I'm open to it. And with King 4, just fire a c-bet on a good board and then kind of gave up. It's an okay spot to two-barrel, actually. And I decided once the 4th club hit the river that I was going to take a stab at it to get him to fold all his non-club hands. Unfortunately for me, he did have King 7 with the 7 of clubs, and I think he probably would have folded that to a second barrel, but, c'est la vie, hindsight's 20/20. I didn't know what he had back then. So here we go again, defending the King 2, but the flop is not quite as favorable for us, so we just go ahead and check fold that one. Continue to be aggressive. I guess I felt that this was a board he was going to connect with a good amount on the flop, which is why I didn't stab. But after trying to feign that I had showdown value, he just said, you know what? You're offering me amazing pot odds, so you can just go ahead and get wrecked. Ace here, we get a fold, pocket 4s, raise it up, fire a c-bets again, but we're betting very small, 30% of the pot, and we're turning sets, so it ain't no thing. And we're hoping to get value from an ace here, maybe a queen. When I turn this big, I just want to go for all 3 streets. I guess if I think he's floating, then checking back and looking to raise the river is also an option. We defend the ace and planning to call down. This is an interesting spot where I led. I don't really like it. It's similar to the lead from the previous part of this series, where if he had a pair and a gut shot, like a 10-jack or a queen 9 or something like that, or even just a pure gut shot, I wanted to charge him and ensure that he didn't get to check it back and get to a cheap showdown. So that's why I led, but I like it better than the other lead I did, but I still don't know that I love it, so I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that spot. I'll raise and take with the old Justin Poon. I know you're watching this, buddy. I know that's your hand. Give you credit where credit's due. here I semi-bluffed the turn, and when I whiffed on the river, I decided I was going to turn my pair of threes into a bluff because I didn't expect them to be the best hand. But Jay Cutler called with one of the hands I was hoping to maybe fold him off of. So if he's calling with that hand, I'm just making a bad bet there, and I should probably just check back on the river and give up on the hand. 7 deuce, why not? It's suited. Ace king, definitely hit him with the 3-piece. And pocket nines, we would be playing for all the chips here, whether we flopped a set or not. We're just ready to rock and roll. So in this spot, we bet very small as we've been doing before, and it's a board where, you know, he can put some pressure on us. He goes for the check raise, and at this point, I decided that I was just going to give him some rope. I think if there was a flush draw here, I might have been more inclined to fast play it, as there's more, you know, bluffs that I could have. Some people may also say that clicking it back here on the flop looks more bullshitty and more bluffy. But if he was semi-bluffing, I wanted to give him the opportunity to continue to do that and maybe make second best hand, so I just called. But he was done with it. He wasn't falling for it. So whatever he had, he got done with pretty quickly. Pocket twos, I just went ahead and played it the easy way, taking it to Rack City. And here with the Jack 5, I flop middle pair, I got showdown value, I'm taking it to showdown. Go for that value bet on the river, looking to get called by ace high. And we actually get called by queen high. So at this point, I knew that Jay Cutler was a sticky player. But in the moment, I don't know if I adjusted to that properly. So again, love your guys' feedback, especially the heads up sit and go professionals who are watching this video, because I know you guys know your heads up spots ice cold. Go ahead and defend with a speculative hand, get a very below average flop. I just muck it. It is a spot where I could consider check raising, because it's a board that he's going to miss a lot too, but with nothing but a backdoor straight draw and 2 enders, I didn't really feel like there were going to be enough cards coming on the turn I could continue and follow up with my aggression on. So I just said, you know, that's way below average for me. I'm done. Tried to build a 3-betting image, picked the wrong time. Jay Cutler just said, nah, bruh, not going to happen. I can see your soul. And here, same game plan with the ace 5 as we had with the ace 6. It's better than what he's opening. We're getting a good price, and we can flop top pair and extract value on boards that he's going to bluff on when he missed, because ace high boards are great for c-betting. So we check call. Still got a flush draw as well. There's a lot of hands he could be semi-bluffing with. We check call, and the river is an interesting spot. He fires one more time, giving us really good odds. He's giving us 4-1, so he only has to be bluffing, you know, a fifth of the time for this to be a good call, or value bet in a worse hand. So I do call, and I actually get owned. He value bet me perfectly with perfect sizing. And I'm curious if anyone folds to the river. When I first reviewed it, I'm like, oh, I should fold to the third barrel, but the price is really good. So I think folding may be tough, but you know, then there's the option of just going haywire and check ripping, but that can also backfire very hard, as I've learned firsthand a few times. But that's not going to slow us down. We still got 30 big blinds. We're still going to continue to raise those buttons and continue to, you know, put some pressure on our opponents and maintain an aggressive dynamic. 3-2 suited. I mean, hey, it's suited. Got to play that. It's 10-7. I think is probably a hand that is worth defending. If I were to be in this situation these days, I would definitely continue, whether it be by 3-betting or calling. But as I said, when I played this tournament a year ago, I was a little bit more risk averse, despite the fact you guys saw me make some wild plays. They were more with aggressive action. I was pretty reserved and conservative with my speculative action, even though, you know, when you're getting 3-1, it shouldn't matter. So I think that was a mistake. A6 to steal, King 2. I don't know why I didn't defend this one when I defended the ones earlier. I guess I felt I was losing a bit of momentum, so, you know, my confidence had dropped a little bit. So, you know, what happens when we do that? We go to our default habits, we go to our basic patterns, and mine is to, you know, play conservative and wait for something strong, some good cards that I can bank on to bail me out. Not saying that's the right thing to do, just saying, you know, that's what humans naturally do when they lose confidence and start to feel uncomfortable, they just resort back to old habits because that's what feels comfortable and will make them feel more at ease. And I decided, I wanted to get back in the mix. I said, you know what? No playing like a bitch. Let's get in there. So that's why I peeled here with the gut shot and the backdoor flush draw and the backdoor gutter. But I think that check raising may have been a more attractive option on this board than check calling. And we catch a solid river, go for that value, and chop suey. Queen 10. He's been 3-betting us a decent amount. So I definitely feel like continuing with this hand is correct. I'm getting better than 2-1 pre-flop, so calling's definitely fine. But in the moment, I decided, I want to take it down pre-flop. And if he's got it, you know what, let's just play a big pot for it. I want to give myself a chance to get back in the game. And this is probably just me being someone who doesn't have a ton of experience with heads-up play, having not practiced that variant since I first started my career, 10 plus years ago when I did play a lot of heads-up sit and goes. But I hadn't practiced that much lately. And playing multi-table tournaments, you don't get to heads up very often. So this is probably just inexperience. But, there is a possibility that he was 3-betting light, which he wasn't. But that's okay because we looked at the studies that they've done where they talked about the fact that, when you get it in bad, 30% of the time, it works every time. And it doesn't matter if they flop top because you can just let them make top 2 and still have the winner on the river. So yeah, studies are true. 30% of the time, getting it in bad works every time. And when it works, you don't just get their pre-flop 3-bet. You get your whole stack doubled up. So that was a very fortunate turn of events. My biggest break of the tournament, to be sure. And now with the 2-1 chip lead, I got my swagger back. I got my confidence with me. And it's funny how, winning a big pot will do that. Chip, what's it called? I don't know, just like chip confidence. I was thinking like entitlement tilt was one of Tendler's terms. But that's only when you play bad, when you have a big stack. We'll see how I play. I think I should have continued to raise here. I don't know why I limped in with this queen jack. But I floated with 2 overcards, planning to take the pot away on a later street. And I think that I probably should have just called again. I made a small raise here to kind of, set the price for showdown and also charge him if he had a flush draw or a gutter or a weaker pair. But I think calling again and just calling the river may be the play. Now, that being said, if he's semi-bluffing and never following up with a river bluff, then there's no need to give him a free card. So you could probably go either way. But again, feedback, guys. Lay it on me. This is the time when I would appreciate it the most. So blinds are up. 5K, 10K. Effective stacks are 22 beeps. And we're going back to raising. He's jamming. If he raises, we're jamming. He's limping. Fuck it. We're jamming too. Now, I don't know why I limp with the Jack 7. And I don't know why I call the check raise with a gut shot and an over. This just seems like asking for trouble. So I turn open-ended, and I don't even get to continue with that. That looks like a hand that was definitely butchered. Raise it up with the ace on the button. Get a walk with the queen. Raise it. Okay. Limp with the king. Don't know why I raised. Don't know why I didn't raise. I know that when limping, my intention is to limp and call so that I can see the flop as opposed to raising and risking getting shoved on and not getting to C3 with a hand as strong as King 10. So for that it's decent. But I think with my chip lead, I might as well just continue to apply pressure and force him to wake up with big hands. And if he has a hand that he can shove on me with, well, it's not the end of the world to not see a flop with King 10. So he follows it up with a C-bet, and this time I just let him have it. I guess I felt with his 3.5x raise that he was sitting on something stronger and wasn't intending on, folding on a later street. Raise and take, nope. Raise and fold with King 5, and fold to a raise with the 7-3, and raise it up with the old .commer. the nickels, the big dog pocket fives, and facing a shove, well, sometimes you just know what they've got. And my old roommate, Simon Charette, would have been very proud of this one as his highlight of his career. His favorite story to tell, he would tell me this kind of like almost every Sunday, was when he was heads up for the World Series of Poker Brace in the 3K6 Max, and he raised it up with the sixes, and his opponent just made this massive overshove, like 40 big blinds or something. And forgive me if I'm getting the action wrong, because I'm sure Simon will come and clear things up. But he opened the button. The guy made a massive reshove, like 40 big blinds, some crazy amount. And Simon snapped him. He snapped him for the bracelet with the pocket sixes, because he knew that if his opponent had a really big hand, he would have taken some kind of different sizing. And he expected, my man either has ace rag or a small pair. And in Simon's case, his opponent had the ace four against his pocket sixes. And Simon's hand, the upside down Helmuth, held, and he was able to ship that bracelet. And in my case here, my read was correct, and we were up against the pocket deuces. And we flop bottom sizzle, and he had his flush draw, but he did not materialize that to anything more than a draw. So he was left with a pair of deuces, and we were left with a set of fives. And that, my friends, is how you get yourself into an 80-20 situation for all the chips, and you get fucking stacking. Oh, yeah. Boom. Ship the chips to Grips, 760,000, 6,992 churros going into the account. Yep. That home slices and home slice sets is how you ship a Sunday major and collect those Griffin Benjis. So, guys, girls, people from another world, please give me your comments and feedback on this heads-up match and the entire series. Feel free to go to each of the different videos and post the relevant feedback and the relevant comments there. There was a ton of information that I shared with you guys in this series, a ton of tools and a ton of tips that you can incorporate into your game to really become killer MTT players. I know the majority of the community is MTT players and aspiring MTT players, so I'm always happy to share this material with you guys. This is the result of, going out, learning from the best, applying myself with consistent practice, and then recognizing what I needed to do to allow myself to perform at my peak. I had a lot of rest before this tournament started. I only played 2 tables that day. I played in a room by myself as opposed to in the usual grinding area where there were 2 or 3 of us, hanging out, talking strat back and forth, which is a lot of fun, but it can be distracting. And some days you just got to get in your zone and you got to focus. And, I was listening to my peak performance poker tracks to keep me focused and keep me in the zone and dialed in the entire day. And you guys saw the results of that. And I also got my exercise in before I played this session. And I got some good food in my belly. So, I had the energy from the food and I had the confidence from the workout, had the endorphins running. And I also had no anxiety, no worries, no shakes, because I got all that kind of nervous energy out in the exercise and the workout beforehand. So I made sure that I came in calm, cool, collected, meditated, visualized what I wanted to happen, did some empowering breathing to both calm me and energize me, and then I just picked the events that I wanted to play, and I went to work. So big thank you to you for watching this and making it through till the end of the series. If you have a friend who is an aspiring MTT player as well, or someone who, doesn't really see how much strategy there is to this game and think it's just a game of luck, then feel free to share this video with them and share this series with them, because I think it will really change their approach, and it will probably make your conversations with them about poker much more easier and much more enjoyable if they are actually willing to, take the time to watch this series and really engage with it and understand it. So yeah, that concludes my review of the best session I ever played. This marked the second time that I managed to ship this particular tournament, And I remember feeling, so satisfied with my performance. Just so proud of myself for making all the right decisions and not giving in to any temptations to register more tournaments or make any reckless plays or get emotional. And a feeling of total euphoria overcame me. A, because I did it, but B, because I saw, I've developed the skills. Like, I have this ability to now perform well in MTTs. And when I leave this house, when I leave the house that Greggy built and that had all these amazing players and that became what was basically Project Infinity, that I was going to be okay because I learned what I needed to do so that I could go ahead and take my skills on the road and go do my own thing, and that I didn't need that same support system of teachers around for me to really be my best, because I'd got what I needed and I was ready to move on to the next stage of the journey. And, I just took it all in, and I said to myself, I knew you had it in you, Evan. I knew you had it in you all along. And all those other times that you weren't able to perform, well, there were reasons that you weren't. You were tired, you were burnt out, you were overstimulated, you had unreasonable expectations, you were trying to do too many things at the same time. But when I did it right, I got it. And I was so proud of myself for being able to take down a Sunday major again, and for really proving to myself, like I said, that I'd incorporated all the concepts that I learned over those 3 years from living with and studying under the elite players. You could say that I felt like I'd really made it and reached my goal. And there's no greater feeling for me than being able to share all of that with you guys in this series. And then, all the great things that are going to happen with grips.com in the future. So I'm very happy to have you aboard and along for the ride, because we're going to have a lot of fun. So yeah, this win gave me the fire and the confidence to then hit the road and travel to the foreign land of Peru, where I followed it up with a main event cash and a side event victory. So it's really amazing to notice the power of momentum and to recognize that when you got it, you got to roll with it. So just see what you can do with it. And when you lose it, figure out what you need to do to get it back. Usually the reason you lose is because you stopped doing the things that got you there in the first place and you lost sight of them. So just go back to the basics. Do what worked for you in the first time, repeat the process, and you will get back to where you were at your highest point, at your proudest moment. And you'll be able to do even more with it and get even further, because in addition to everything you knew the first time you got there, you have so much more life experience and reference experience to bring to the table to make smarter, wiser decisions. So this has been a fantastic experience for me. I gained a ton out of it, and I encourage you to do the same. Take a day to look back on your best session, be it cash or tournament. Mark the hands that are the key ones and go through it. Reflect on it. Identify the great moves that you made and the things you could have done a little bit better. You guys heard in this review that I didn't just act like I was the man and a superstar. I acknowledged where I made mistakes, and I opened myself to feedback so that I could make changes and positive improvements to my game, which will spill over to just having a better life. And then, after you've done that and gone through it, give yourself some credit and acknowledgement for how much your game has improved over the last few years since you started learning from elite players. Go ahead, give yourself some praise, maybe a pat on the back, maybe a high five, maybe just look in the mirror and smile and nod and say, yeah, I am doing great things right now, and I am moving forward towards my goals and towards my dreams, and I'm so thankful, and I couldn't be happier about it. And once you've done that and you got that good feeling, that inner confidence that's going to give you the momentum and the motivation to just work hard and develop and invest in yourself and get feedback from others and make those changes, those positive changes that are going to turn you into the best poker player that you can be. Go ahead and identify what's necessary so that your next session is even better than the one you reviewed. And when you've done that planning, when you're done with that, you know what to do. Take what you learned, go out there, and get stacking.
Bye.